Whenever you turn on the news, it does seem like that there's story after story showing just how divided America is right now. Like in Texas, there was a drag brunch for kids over the weekend. However, armed groups from both sides showed up and faced off with each other. There's also all this uproar over Hunter Biden's laptop, and now GOP senators are demanding answers over the FBI possibly burying the story. Even former President Trump is now demanding he be declared the winner of the 2020 election over the whole thing. So how divided are we really? Well, a recent poll showed that more than 40% of Americans think that a civil war is likely in the next decade. So DBL Nation, I'm reading your comments, but we want to continue to hear from you. Are we headed, in your opinion, in that direction? Go to dblvote.com to weigh in. Al?
I keep thinking back to January 6th. We had a bunch of armed extremists right at the Capitol steps. They had headsets, Erica. They had a battle plan. They were going underground. They had a plan to bring guns over, it was at the Delaware. And no one did anything. No one did anything. And I wonder why. And I think it's because at everybody's core, no matter how much rhetoric you use, no matter if you actually show up at the event, no matter if you yell or show up with a bat, nobody really wants that civil war smoke. Because if we're in a civil war and you do something to me, that's going to affect your family as well, because now your family's in a civil war. Nobody wants to live like that. They keep trying to tell us that we're divided, but we are not divided on legalizing marijuana. A lot of states have already done it. It's very popular. We were not divided on abortion. It was a very popular pro-choice referendum in this country. And we haven't been divided on a number of gay marriage.
Assault weapons.
All these things are things that people are for. The reason that they are being held up and not changed is because of what's going on in our government. I don't think that people really want a civil war, but I think it's great to talk about it and pontificate about it. But what would that even look like in 2022?
I disagree. I think that there is a contingency of people out there who absolutely want a civil war. They want the unrest. They want the chaos. They want to overthrow the government. And why? Because they are so disenfranchised, either in their heads or they're disenfranchised in the reality of the situation. And anything in order to upset the balance will work in their favor. Like, you're talking about it from a standpoint of someone who, you are living your life in a way that it makes sense that you want to have some degree of harmony and civility. But there are people out there who are living a reality, whether it's a true reality or the one they've made up in their head, that anything is better than what is happening now. And these, quote, outliers, who I don't even feel are truly outliers. These are people who, in the moment that if there was a separation, let's say it's an aesthetic one, let's just use black and white because this is America. They're able to turn to look like whatever they need to look like in order to be on the winning side of whatever is happening. So I do think that there is a fear that should be at least thought about and explored in all of our hearts and minds, because there are a lot of people out there who do not love the way that their lives in this country are going, and they will do anything to upset that balance.
I wonder, though, if you were to ask, and I agree with you, but let's look back to like 1968, right? Let's look back to 1975, 1984. Like, even when was same-sex marriage passed? 2008?
Yeah, during Obama. Yeah.
So, and if I got that wrong, please somebody correct me. Would your grandmother say that times are better now than they were before? What would you say to that?
I don't know what my grandmother would say.
Well, what do
honest.
you feel? Do you feel that we've made some progress?
I think there's always progress. But I also think that there's always a certain amount of regression. And I'd say that because anytime there's progress made, there's always going to be but what about, but look at. And then we stop looking at, it's like, is the glass half full or the glass half empty?
Right.
So I think that we are in some ways progressing, but in a lot of ways we are regressing.
Yeah, I think both of you are right, which is an annoying thing to say. But if you do bring back 1968, presidents were shot. Like RFK, would-be presidents were shot. MLK, leaders were shot, assassinated. The Chicago riots, the Democratic Convention, that's 1 year. We've had really bad times in America before. There was actually a whole war where we fought against one another. I don't think things are there at all. I think the media has brought this up and made it very polarizing. However, and I say this with respect, usually something comes along and is a catalyst for something once a generation. I believe Trump represents or gives permission for people to really speak out to their neighbors and say, I don't like where you're from, go back to blank. That's shifted to where now neighbor versus neighbor is like in maybe a possible war.
I don't know. Okay, and Al, please jump in. Like, I agree with the both of you that we feel very divided. However, I see that on my Facebook account. I see that on Twitter. When I'm out and about grabbing a coffee, and I get it, I'm white, I get my privilege, but still, when I'm out and about getting to know my neighbors, whether or not we have different or same political beliefs, there is a commonality of respect and family and community as opposed to what I see on Facebook. I think we see a different person behind a keyboard than we see if you were my next door neighbor.
Absolutely.
You see people all the time.
But what if you see that person on a red MAGA hat?
But
that changes things.
I don't know if that does.
For me, it does.
I think that there have been extremists. I don't think there's any more or less of anything ever in the history of time. I think that extremists have been highlighted. The domestic terrorist group was dismantled when Trump came in. So now we have more white nationalists that are getting prominent FaceTime on national news. But when I'm out and about, when I talk to people after shows, I talk to thousands of people a year. I don't see this. I know I'm talking to them in a certain situation, but that's the only situation we'll ever interact with.
I don't agree at all, and I think that it's a privilege to not see it or not have
I'm not
to
saying
see
it doesn't exist.
No, I'm telling you now. I have so insulated and isolated myself because I just truly, it's not even that it affects me on a personal level, it's that I choose joy and softness in this moment in my life. But I, at least once a week, get approached by someone who says something to either, they basically want to have DBL at the grocery store, and they want to come to me to give me their side of the coin because they may have heard me say something when I'm at work. I'm off the clock. Okay, I'm not interested in having this conversation with you in the real world. I have been at private events and had people come up and say something to get me to respond in a certain way. I have been called names and had things like under my breath. And we live in Denver, and not to say that Denver's okay. I mean, hello, Elijah McClain. But I'm telling you right now, especially in other places in the country, there are people who this is a daily occurrence for, and they have to deal with this every day.
Yeah, that's real. No, it is. That's real. Let's look at our viewers. They say 54% of you say yes. Wow, America is headed for another civil war. That's our viewers for you. And also 2015 was the legalization of same-sex marriage. 2015. That was not that long ago.